Afternoon, YouTube. It is your girl, the Clumsy Goat. I am finally giving YouTube a chance, and I am bringing my speculation dream alive. Some of you may know me from a past life, but for most of you, you don't need to worry about that. I am the Clumsy Goat, as I've said before, and I just really, really love theorycrafting. I got into theorycrafting just before Shadowlands released. It has been something that I've absolutely loved. I love diving into speculation videos. But post Shadowlands, unfortunately, a lot of the speculation community has died off, and what remains is, for a lack of a better word, the crazy ones. Um, I respect Pyromancer and Accolon, but I feel like a lot of their theorycraft is not hitting the dartboard, and most of it feels like prophesized masturbation, to put it politely. So I'm more interested in indie voices and small time create speculation developers, and I'm inspired by Etch and the Cozy Campfire, and to some extent even Belia, because I feel like their speculation is actually more reasonable. I feel like it's grounded in facts, it's grounded in the evidence, and it's not trying so hard to have a hard on for what we think should happen with World of Warcraft. And without further ado, today for my first video, I have something that it's very passionate to me. It is something that I've been working on for a couple of years now. I have made countless friends about this in various places on Discord and to my poor husband. And I'm happy to share it today because a few feeds are just clicking together here. So, without further ado, which, by the way, this is my dark-eyed Aranaf. Um, Currently been doing some auction house catching up, so thought she looked so good for an introduction to this video. So I thought, well, I'll leave it in. But without further ado, I have to take her away because I want to get into the meat of today's video, and that will be a very interesting thing that came out of the BlizzCon expansion reveal, or saga reveal, if you people prefer. And that is, if it lets me for some reason, this. Some of you may already know what this is. Well, some of you may already know what this is from BlizzCon. Some of you may not. So, from here on forth to the very end of the video, spoilers. Please, if you do not want spoilers for the War Within or the future of World of Warcraft, close your video now. This is very spoiler heavy. This is going to go into territory that you're not going to like if you're into spoilers. Okay. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See you later. Okay. To those remaining, this fascinated me when I saw it in the BlizzCon um, panel for World of Warcraft: The Future of WoW. Because, and let me emphasize this. Let me emphasize this going forth. Color matters in storytelling. The art style and the choice of colors that artists use to convey certain themes is important. And I cannot stress this through the whole entire video that I'm about to show you. Because I would like to also emphasize on the point that the Blizzard team made during their many, many interviews. This is not the sword of Sagaris. How do you know this is not a sword of Sagaris? Well, for starters, it's gold. It is not meaty, sinew-covered, gothic horror sword that we see sticking out of Earth as the Azeroth. This is clearly a Naaru-looking crystal. This is a chandelier of light dangling in a cavern that is capable of sustaining life. Not just life as in green pastures and trees. This whole crystal is an artificial sun capable of developing an atmosphere. This art piece, this fantastic, phenomenal acrylic concept piece, has clouds in the sky in a cave. The cave bigger than Zaralak cavern that we got in Dragonflight a couple of patches ago. This has its own self-sustaining, artificially created ecosystem. This is steampunk, ladies and gentlemen. This is solarpunk. This is phenomenally cool for a concept. You want to know what's even better? The Blizzard team are developing technology to enable the artificial sun of light, to have void, to have like a corrupted side to it, like a Naaru would if when they fall. You know how like in the Exodar or the Great Ganadar, the very first spaceship that left Argus. That's what I'm trying to say. You know how a villain had to sort of yeet the Naaru before it could totally fall and kill them all? This is what this crystal has a similar concept of doing. And it's going to allow us to engage in World of Warcraft's stories differently than we have in previous expansions. Because it's allowing the environment to change and to shift, and not just from a cosmetic level, but from what was told on that pedal, it's going to allow us to be able to fight new creatures, bosses, rares, all that jazz in the actual world whenever this event goes dark happens. So there's going to be like a shadow version of this. And so we clearly understand that this is somehow connected in one way or another to the Dread Eye, or at the very least to the light and to that of the Naaru. However, if this is not sort of Sagaris, what else could it be? And I'm like, okay, well, we had the Exodar, and obviously the Exodar exploded above Azeroth as it came crash landing. And as you do the Azuremist Isles questline for the Dread Eye, you see that there are pods and crystals sticking out of the planet. An entire Caldore fisherman's family were crushed by these crystals. And the ecosystem was entirely devastated by the crystal's ability to poison the area. So this people noticed where these crystals landed. But here's the biggest flaw. Not only is this theory flawed from a geographical perspective, because I believe when they showed us on the world map, this area, this whole new zone that we go into is not near that top end of the map. It's actually down towards the bottom. So that doesn't work out. And secondly, it's a lavender crystal. The Exodar is more familiar with the crystals from Draenor that we see in like alternate Draenor that the crystal smiths are working with, and it's not the same color as the Lightforged. Because remember, the Lightforged didn't come until after Argus, and that we had the Unlock Allied Race questline. So and the only other section of the Exodar that is even remotely yellow to this degree is the one district where they have holographic sort of simulations of their enemies, and they have like combat training. It's clearly the combat quarters. It's there for education and research and training. It's not there just to be like empty and sparse. It's clearly got a purpose. And that's the only part of the district that we see that has this. You don't see it anywhere else in Azure Mist Isles. You don't see it until the Lifeforged Dreadeye actually show up. You do, however, see discoloration and the uses of these crystals on Argus and Alternate Dreadnought. Though, to not excite people, but Alternate Dreadnought was more the Arakoa, and to them it was more like solar energy. It came from like the sun. Whereas for like on Argus, these were actual crystals getting harvested from Argus itself, and was essentially the battery powered lifeblood of the Lightforge and their sort of war machine against the Legion. So that's how we come into interaction with this fiend. So it's like, well, if it's not of the Exodar and it's not of the Vindicar, then where did this big, huge crystal penetrate Azeroth? And you can think of, well, maybe it's Azerite. Well, firstly, Azerite doesn't look like that. It doesn't look like a chandelier. It doesn't look like a lampshade that talks to you, for starters. Secondly, the very clear indication it's not Azerite is the fact that it's not blue. Azerite has very distinct tones of yellow and blue in its design, but it also has distinct orange. You see this in the Heart of Azeroth when it splits. Like, as you're healing the Heart of Azeroth, if you look at the detail of the walls, you can actually see where it split. And it goes and it pushes upwards and erupts from the ground. It doesn't it doesn't erupt into the ground, it erupts out of the ground. So unless there was like enough pressure to push it back into the ground, which I doubt, then I don't think this is Azurite either. However, like, they do mine Azurite down in here. I do not think this is of Azurite. I think it's completely different. So, what else? What else can we think of? Recently, because of the announcement that they were doing catch-up packs, and they had the Sarge promotion, which is still going, by the way, you can still do the Mercenaries tutorial and unlock that mouse mount. I do recommend you doing that. When they released the Badlands expansion of like Hearthstone, I started playing Hearthstone, and I actually do enjoy it. I suck, but I enjoy it. And I did the Mercenaries mode because I finally had that unlocked, and I started with Exrelia's story. Or is it Mercenaries mode? It's one of those modes. It's like the story mode of Hearthstone. Someone correct me in the comments. And I did this story from start to finish. And something really interesting caught my eye in the dialogue as Exrelia is talking to you. And this fascinated me. A mother desperate to heal her child. Exrelia grew up on Draenor, later Outland. A healer blessed by the Naaru and the Holy Light, she became a disciple of Prophet Velen, and was part of the raid on Tempest Keep to capture the Exodar, a city-sized satellite with trans-dimensional capabilities. But the Exodar malfunctioned and crashed at Azeroth. Exrelia's husband did not survive the disaster, and their only daughter Rudy fell into a coma that no healing magic could break. As Exrelia prayed over her daughter, a glowing object exploded in the sky. Let me read that again. A glowing object exploded in the sky. Shards of fractured light rained across Azeroth. Again, fractured. So kind of like a mirror, kind of like glass, kind of like something chandelier, something Naaru. The Draenei called this incident the Night of Falling Stars. Exrelia watched the lights fall like glowing embers. She had a vision. The falling stars were pieces of a fractured Naaru, an enigmatic energy being deeply connected to the light. The Naaru spoke to her. I am Midna, pure light. Gather my pieces, reform me. Only I have the power to save your daughter's life. Compelled by the Naaru, Exrelia has made the difficult choice to leave her child and people behind and seek the shards. She hears the Naaru's call and follows it to the barrens. Now, in the story, it only talks about the barrens. But in Hearthstone, these shards, and there was many of them, there multiple shards, so they emphasized that like there was not just one shard. These were powerful shards, and in the story of Hearthstone, multiple factions are after this. It's kind of like the Azeroth of Hearthstone. The SI7 are after it. Mercenaries are after it. These is valuable. And Exrelia, spoilers, gets betrayed by the people who originally helped her to get to the crystals. And she finds out that there's been a big ploy to sort of like take the crystal that she wants to use to save her daughter from her. And so, these are like stars, shattered stars, that have sort of penetrated themselves across Azeroth. There are multiple of them. There's too many to count. Then everybody's just trying to feud over it because they're powerful. Everybody's drawn to it. It's a big, huge spectacle. And what I find interesting is that in the deep dive from BlizzCon, the story of this location that we're going to is of Arathor's ancestors. Well, sort of predecessors, successors. Right, so it's the last piece of Arathor's kingdom that have migrated across Azeroth because they were drawn to something. Being big, huge, holy believers of the light, and even having like huge chapels dedicated to in this area, to basically the inquisitors, I suppose, the light variant of the more witch huntery traditional Order of Embers. You got these guys, sort of like the Templars, and they founded a human society beneath this artificial sun, and they made it their source of holy power. And it is of the holy light. It's not solar, it's not druidic, it's of the holy light. And so it's like, okay, this is really interesting because we have a piece of human civilization at the start of when the Church of Holy Light was created, and decided to like we decided to like well they decided to like migrate to like a great source like this. And I'm wondering, even though technically Hearthstone is not canon, Warcraft and Hearthstone influence each other. They inspire one another. Um, so I would not be surprised if this is what the story is going to be, because they share big huge similarities. And Blizzard, credit where it's due, have been doing a lot of mythology-based storytelling in the books. Like we've recently had the Travelers series, we've had the fairy tales of Azeroth. So Exrelia's story feels like Draenei mythology, so to speak. It feels like a story of the survivor, and it's like a part of their belief system, or sort of like them seeing, sort of like, or maybe an actual event that happened off screen that happened in the skies, like a meteor shower, for example. Something could have happened above Azeroth that we weren't aware of, and this story comes from that survivor, or comes from someone who was curious and actually delved into that. This could be part of plot points and plot stuff that's been happening in the background while we've been dealing with Shadowlands. We've been dealing with Zovol. We've been dealing with Farak and the Primalists and all these other things that we've just been so busy that we haven't cared about the cosmos. Because how could we? We don't have time for that. And maybe this is our time to start caring. Maybe there is stuff happening with the stars. So this really interests me because I think this is one of those shards. I think this crystal is one of those very shards that got scattered across Azeroth. And it's one of the largest shards that was able to embed itself. And it was so powerful that it drew parts of human civilization to its doorstep. And they made a whole sustainable society and ecosystem within this huge bowl of cave. And that's fascinating to me. Because maybe there are more of these. Maybe there are other underground civilizations we don't know about on Azeroth. We just don't know. And I just love the premise that this could set up for more exploration into Azeroth's Earth, or even more exploration into the speculated other side of Azeroth, or into other islands who have these crystals, and the crystals are sustaining a whole different other populations who have been drawn to these crystals. We just do not know. But this gets me into another theory, or another set of theories that I'm really curious to talk about. That's also star related. So walk with me. I want to premise something. I want to premise something with something else. I'll bring you back into World of Warcraft. And I want to bring up my mount collection. So I'm gonna go into bring this up. And I want you to read this. I want you to read this with me. I want you to pay attention to the colouring. The sapphire sky blazer. These brilliant blue birds burn brighter and hotter than their orange cousins. Though the origin of both remains a mystery. And I'm going to mount up on this because I like flexing. So I don't know if you guys can see that. There we go. Ignore the guys watching in the background. So we've got this mount. And look at it. Look at the plating. Look at the colour. Look at the black, the blue, and the white. Look at the elven design of this. Look at the outer world sort of soulfire, gaseous eyes that it has. There's not been a source for where this bird's come from. And this is a promotion, 12-month promotion, that came in early Shadowlands, actually. And the lore of this bird piqued my interest. Because I believe this bird foreshadowed the World Saga, and possibly beyond it, actually. And what really annoyed me is that many speculationists never talked about this, especially when they talk about Elude. And I just so I can prove that I'm not messing with you guys. We recently got another animal mount that also came from with similar with similar details. Yes, I am talking about the moon owlbear. Because if I could get a better close up of it, there we go. This might be doable. Look at it. Look at this glory. Oh, sure. Look at this glorious, glorious bird. Look at it. Look at it. See what I mean? Again, similar colors, minus the glow, minus the hot fiery soul glow. We've got similar color theming. So walk with me here. Walk with me here. We'll be showing you what I mean. I want you to look at something. Look at something right here. Let's go. Take a moment. Take a moment to think. Take all the time you need. Pause the video if you need to. If you haven't seen the connection yet, let me walk through. We have an interesting color palette that's starting to show itself in these two recent mounts and now Illyria. Which, by the way, she has a really cool braid. They've changed her tattoo design, so that's interesting. She's actually going to have markings similar to that of the Night Elves. So I am very, very interested in this like League of Legends-esque design because it's reminiscent of Tyranda's upgrade back in before the Shadow before Battle for Azeroth, I should say. And notice it is not void. Yes, you heard me say that. It is not void. Or it's not a form of void that we're familiar with. Look at the bow. Look at the color. Look at the black, the blue, the white. We've got this silver coming through. And look at what surrounded Illyria. It's curious. She doesn't have tentacles and she doesn't have raging void coming sprouting from her back. She doesn't look like a void on void sort of hero versus villain archetype. She has the galaxy, the cosmos, the stars surrounding her. She has a cosmic, celestial vibe about her. She has a lunar aesthetic to her, a star aesthetic. She's not void anymore. She's not the purple and the gold of the Red Dorai. Because remember, the Red Dorai have a very specific aesthetic that is very clearly tied with the old gods, and very, very clearly tied with purple and gold. They do not have silver and white, they have purple and gold. This is not it. This reminds me of the phases of the moon. The black reminds me of the Night Warrior. It reminds me of Tyranda's transformation with the Night Warrior eyes. And the white clearly reminds me of the full moon. And one of the interesting things that came out of the BlizzCon reveal was that part of the Midnight expansion that comes after the War Within, we're going back to Quell for Less, dealing with the Sunwell, but we've also got the Nightborn, the Shal'Dorei, which is night themed, but we also got the Kaldorei. And Chris Metzen, in his teaser, said that we're going to be trying to reunite the Elfin Kingdoms. How we do that, I don't know. But this foreshadows a potential for an Elune patch, an Elune expansion. I think, and I will provide more evidence of this, I genuinely believe that with the teasers of Elisard and teasers of the Broken Isles, with the aesthetics of Suramar and like the arcane magic and the stars, with like the more emphasis on Ardawild and seeing the night sky and seeing the Winter Queen, with like the two mounts with Valeria's design. I think at some point we're going to be going to a star. A star. I truly think that if this is meant to be a facet of the void's capabilities, I think it's because the void is able to consume different types of energy. I do not think the void as we know it, as the Lovecraft archetype that we know it as, is the legitimate void. Or if it is the legitimate void, it's able to like attain energy and magic and sort of shape itself. Because again, the void is very insidious. It could disguise itself as pretty much any sort of energy. It's able to disguise itself as like an aspect of the Emerald Dream, shaping itself into like the Emerald Nightmare. So like, and when it was shaped itself as the Emerald Nightmare, we got the red and the black coloration. So if the Void is able to take something from the Emerald Dream, corrupt it, and turn it into something like the Emerald Nightmare, what? Let me ask you this question. What does it look like when the Void consumes a star? What does it look like when the Void consumes a constellar, or a celestial, or something cosmic? We know what the Void is like when it consumes a planet, we have seen it. And I can bring it up on screen, my next bit of evidence. Star Augur Atreus in the Nighthold. Because he did something very, very interesting. And you can see at the lower path, you see a world ridden by void, chaos. You see a world ridden by tentacles, void, which is quite clearly you see green and purple. But then you see a third type of planet that is cold and blue and frost. And it's not really a planet, it's more like a star, a gaseous blue giant, if you will. What if what does a void look like when it corrupts that? What does a void look like when it can consume such a high velocity form of energy? What does it look like if it can consume a world's soul and achieve similar states? It is very, very interesting to think about these things because the void finds its way into any crack or crevice. That is its power play. That is its highest form of like chess moves in a grand cosmic chess 4D chess game. It doesn't impose itself upon others. It's not like the light that is fanatical. It's not like life that suffocates. Void just consumes. It consumes anything. And but where but what it consumes must always, always again, it's the energy principle. Energy can neither be created or destroyed. So where does this energy have to go? Well, the void converts it into something else. Again, back to the metaphor of like the analogy of the Emerald Dream. Instead of the when the Emerald Dream gets corrupted, it becomes the Emerald Nightmare. It takes, consumes, and then shifts it into something else. So what does the void do if it consumes a star? What type of corruption could a star and its energy and its potential magical potential do? What happens if a loon is on a star? What happens if a loon is a star? What happens if a loon is on a planet that is very, very cold and very, like, starry? Because again, a loon has a big, huge presence across the universe. She had presence in alternate Draenor, in Shadowmoon Valley, even to the point where, like, fallen bits of the moon were like, revered and sort of sought out because of their hit properties. The moon managed to influence the orcs to become the Pale. And again, if you study what the Pale are, they basically become this sort of, you know, They become this sort of like all-hungry creatures that destroy everything because they just go crazy. Similar to like, the Willard with the Surima. So it makes you wonder, what's actually next? Because nothing's been mentioned of Elune. Yet a lot of things point towards her and towards something dearly involving her. And maybe Midnight, maybe the Midnight expansion, the return to Quell for Lass, will have us answering those questions. Because I am very curious as to where we're going next in that regard. So, let me see, is there any... So, yeah, I am very curious about what's next for World of Warcraft. Because I generally believe that we are going to be seeing some interesting stuff with Valyria. Because I do not think that the void that we know it as is the void. I do not think that is. Are they a real threat? Yes. But they're a parasite more than anything else. They're not natural to the universe. They're not from the universe. They're just parasites they consume. It's like an infection. There's an infection in the universe. It's what Sakaris sought to wipe out. It's why he chose fire and flame. He wanted to purge the infection. It's like a fever response in the human body. If you have an infection, what does the body do? It has a fever. Sagaris was the fever. So if we no longer have Sagaris, fevering across the universe, and the old gods are all dead, at least the ones on Azeroth, then what are we dealing with? What are we actually dealing with? Because I do not think this is actually the void. I do not think this is actually what we're meant to be fighting. I feel like Illyria's design is purposely going against what was originally designed for, like, Xalatath and the Red Dry. There is clear, absolute distinction between them. The heritage armor of the Red Dry goes against everything that Illyria is, like, designed in concept for the war within. And I believe it is very much tied to Elune. And it is very much tied to a star. To a gigantic ball of absolute cold, death, and flame. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of, like, cosmic origin stories for things like Elune in the future. We may not see Elune directly, but she's going to play a big, huge part in the future. After all, there is 4 seasons, and we've only seen winter, spring, and potentially summer. Or autumn, so to say. Autumn. We've only been able to see 3 of them. Winter confirms summer and spring, potentially. And autumn left unconfirmed. So, pay attention in the future. Pay attention to the pets and the mouths that they start giving us. And pay attention to, like, exploration and sort of, like, sneaky books that they add to the game for the lore. Because I believe that it will be important. And considering that the next expansion is going to be diving into sort of like the light versus darkness in terms of like literal light, a literal artificial sun that has a shadow side, and like Inquisitors and Templars fighting like the Nerubian, and the fact that Midnight, the expansion straight afterwards, seems to be delving into the void. And then, like, the third part of the saga being a return to Northrend and therefore a return to, like, the death. I feel like somewhere in there, Elude's part of it. Elude as a source of energy, as a source of hope, as a sort of light, is going to be part of that cosmic battle. So I am very, very excited. I hope this video was informative. I hope that you're able to get something out of it. I hope that it's jogged your memories, made you guys think, because that's really what I'm here to do. I want to take what's actually in the game, what I've observed, what I'm observing from the PTR and from interviews and whatnot, and just help people to sort of like try to see the lore and the story and try to piece it together for them and at the very least have like believable perspectives and understanding to help people sort of make sense of what's going on with WoW's story. And I will be if and when the War Within PTR hits the BattleNet client, I will be doing videos uh, diving into the PTR, and I'd be very interested to go back to the video and see how much of it I was correct, or how much I was not correct. So, again, if you've got any questions, any topics you want me to dive into, if you have any speculation and theories you want to discuss and want my response to, or if you want to like any other videos or content you want me to do, let me know. I'm happy to do it, or at least try my best. Uh, I do plan to deep dive into roleplay community and sort of just like start up a series of beginner guides and returning guides for players who are coming back to World of Warcraft to get them into like understanding add-ons, understanding roleplay locations, just just to help people develop their characters and just navigate the roleplay scene. So that's coming in the future. I'm doing PTR content in the future. Uh, and as my gold farming continues, uh, every time I hit a milestone, so if I hit 100 subscribers, I will be doing like a 5,000 gold giveaway. Um, for the EU only because I have no US subscription and I don't plan to in the future. But for the EU viewers, there will be a potential for a gold in-game gold giveaway. So that will be coming at the first 100 subscribers mark. And as I continue to gold farm, I'll be increasing that amount for every milestone we make together. So thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.